What's up, guys? It's Christian here, back with another video. This is my 2020 college football picks for week 5. I am going to be doing my NFL picks like right after this. So, well, not uploading them right after, but recording them right after. So you're going to see the same thing both times. It is raining. I'm assuming you can hear me over the rain, but anyways. So first off, Louisville and Georgia Tech. I went with Louisville because, you know, they were supposed to be good before this season, and they just really aren't. So, Georgia Tech got that done last night, so 0-1. I have not checked out any games today yet. Kind of just been sitting here in the car because, you know, my family's driving me crazy, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm getting through. Anyway, first off, we got South Carolina and Vandy. I went with South Carolina here. I just think they're a little bit better than Vanderbilt right now. You know, through 2 games, they played Tennessee, obviously good, and then they played Florida pretty good last week too, so I'm going to go with South Carolina over Vandy there. Number 4, Florida at number 21, Texas A&M. I went with Florida there. Texas A&M looked terrible last week. Florida has looked unstoppable through 2 games, which really scares me. So I'm going to go with Florida there to get it done. Number 19, Virginia Tech, and number 8, North Carolina. I went with North Carolina here. Virginia Tech has like 15 players out, I think it is. So obviously the smart pick here was to go with North Carolina, and that's what I did. Oh, I forgot to show you guys how I forgot to tell you how I did last week. Last week I went 9-7. Really didn't have a great week, but I'm 34-13 overall in the year, so pretty solid so far. Anyway, moving on. Number 22, Texas and Oklahoma. I went with Texas here. I don't know why. Like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I should definitely trust Lincoln Riley more than I do Tom Herman. But again, also in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I definitely think Texas is the better team, so I just don't really know. So I ended up going with Texas there. NC State and Virginia, I was kind of just throwing darts here. I went with Virginia. They played Clemson pretty decent last week. I mean, considering it was Clemson, they did play pretty decent, so I just ended up going with Virginia there. Duke and Syracuse, I was really confused why Duke was a 2.5-point favorite in this game, considering Duke has been terrible. And it is at Syracuse, so I'm going to go Syracuse there. Not sure why Duke was favored in that game, but anyway. Texas Tech and number 24, Iowa State. Iowa State bouncing back so far this year. You know, they lost to Louisiana to start the year, which ended looking like right now is not an awful loss. I mean, it's still not a good loss, but not an awful loss. And now they're back in the top 25, so I got them beating Texas Tech at home and keeping it rolling after that big win over Oklahoma last week. Arkansas coming off their first SEC win in 20 games against number 13 Auburn. I am going to go with Auburn here. After watching last week, I do think Arkansas does keep it a little bit close, but I still think Auburn wins probably about 2 touchdowns or 10 points. So I'll go Auburn to get it done there. Pittsburgh and Boston College. I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh lost to NC State last week. That was a tough loss, but I think they bounced back today against Boston College. At Boston College and get it done on the road. Kansas State at TCU. This is a tough one for me because TCU hasn't really played a lot this year, but I do think they're a little bit better than Kansas State. But Kansas State's been playing pretty good recently, so I just went with TCU just because they were favored by like 8, I think it was. So I was like, okay, you know, Vegas usually knows what they're talking about, so I ended up going with TCU there, but I might end up being wrong. I don't know. Number 2, Alabama at Ole Miss. I went with Alabama here, obviously. I do think Ole Miss does keep it within 3 touchdowns, though. I do like Ole Miss to cover, but give me Alabama to win after Ole Miss got that big win against Kentucky last week because Kentucky, you know, wanted to beat Kentucky. Florida State at number 5, Notre Dame. I'm going to go with Notre Dame here. Big, like very big. Florida State barely survived Jacksonville State last week. They are... It's pretty sad to see what's going on in Tallahassee right now, but yeah, I'm going to go with Notre Dame to get it done here, obviously. What I think is a very interesting game, Mississippi State at Kentucky. I ended up going with Kentucky here, 1, because they're at home, 2, because they're desperate. I know Mississippi State's going to be desperate too, but games like this where I feel like both teams are desperate for wins, I usually pick the home team. Here, I kind of just flipped a coin. It ended up being the home team anyway. So, in the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking they are Kentucky. You should probably pick Mississippi State, but then I was thinking they are Mississippi State. So, I don't know. I just flipped a coin. It was Kentucky, so that's how I picked that game. Missouri and LSU, which I think is going on right now because they moved it up because the hurricane, and they had to move it to Missouri. So that game's going on right now. I still have LSU winning that game big though. If we didn't have any problem with them last week, I don't see how LSU's going to have any problem with them this week. So, and then number 7 Miami at number 1 Clemson, probably the game of the day. I'm going to go with Clemson here. I think I'll say Clemson by 10. I think Miami keeps it closer than a touch than the spread. I do think like them to cover. I think Clemson's favored by like 15, but I'll go Clemson by 10. I do think they'll still handle Miami pretty easily. They'll probably be up 17 and like a garbage time touchdown or something. But a lot of people are saying the U's back. I don't know. This is a really good chance for them to prove it. But yeah, anyway. And then the other tradition program that has a chance to prove that they're back today. Your number 14 Tennessee Volunteers traveling to Athens to take on the number 3 Georgia Bulldogs. I said in the podcast, my score prediction for this game is Georgia 27, Tennessee 23. I really hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see any way we win this game, unfortunately. Like I said, I really hope I'm wrong, but I just think they're too much for us. I think their defense is a lot better than our offense, if we're being honest about things. Like, our offense is good, but I think their defense is just better. And yeah, hate to say that, but that's just what I think is going to happen. So, hope you guys enjoyed my college football picks for Week 5 of 2020. And go Vols. Hopefully we get this done today. I'll be making videos throughout the day, probably halftime report here and there. So, I'll see you guys later today.